Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. So on the stream tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Manchester United takeover apparently reaching its conclusion as early as next week. We'll be giving our thoughts on that and reacting to that, of course. We'll also be reacting to a story that's come out today saying that Erik ten Hag's job at Manchester United is safe and there is no question marks over him apparently being sacked. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about Marcus Rashford. There's been obviously this story that's been blown out of proportion today. Marcus Rashford was out clubbing in Manchester on the evening of the Manchester United derby, which has obviously caused a lot of stir in the tabloid newspapers. We'll be bringing you news on a couple of players that look set to be getting new contracts, lots of other stuff to get into. As always, please do get involved in the comment section. Please do get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. We'll also be previewing the game tomorrow as well a little bit. So yeah, get involved in the chat. I'll try and read out as many comments and stuff as possible, and let's get straight on into it. So let's start off with something about Wan-Bissaka. Now, as you guys all know, Wan-Bissaka has been out injured for the last couple of months. He will be available for selection within the next week or so, we are hearing. He's back on the grass. He's training with the first team. Very, very positive for Manchester United. In my opinion, our best right back at this current moment in time. I think he's grown leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, Wan-Bissaka, and I think he is a very, very important player for us. Yes, there are some question marks about him going forward. I appreciate that. But defensively, I genuinely believe he's one of the best right backs in the 1v1 situation in the Premier League, if not in the whole world. Now, if anybody's unaware, Wan-Bissaka's contract expires at the end of the season. Now, he was in talks to be getting a new one, but it's gone very, very quiet. And there's a story that's come out this afternoon saying that contract talks between Manchester United and Wan-Bissaka appear to have now gone quiet. It now seems more likely that Manchester United will trigger a 12-month extension to keep Wan-Bissaka under contract until June 2025 and will then look at his situation again in the new year. So what we seem to do with a lot of our players, right, is we give them a 5-year deal with the option of an extra year, which is only triggerable by Manchester United. So in this case, his contract expires in June 2024, but we can extend it by 1 extra year if we decide to do that. So Manchester United are about to trigger this 1-year extension, but for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the headline that had been reported was that, Manchester United were close to agreeing a new deal. He was going to be part of the plans for the next, 5-10 years. He's only 25 years of age, remember, Wan-Bissaka. He's still relatively young, and I think he could be, I don't know whether he could be our starting right back for the next 5 years, but I think he's definitely a good squad player in the sense that I think maybe you have Wan-Bissaka and then you also bring in more of an attacking right back, like maybe a Jeremy Frimpong, somebody who's more of a right wing back, who's really, really good offensively, but not so good defensively. So you have two different options of your, in your game. If you're playing Man City, you have Wan-Bissaka starting because you know that you're probably going to have to defend really, really well. But if you're playing at home to Luton, you could have Jeremy Frimpong there just absolutely bombing it down the wing, putting balls into the box and hopefully, teeing up Rasmus Højlund. Let's see what people are saying in the chat this evening. Welcome everybody who's just joined. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody, and please do subscribe bottom right-hand corner if you haven't already. Let's see what everyone is saying. Thomas says Rashford is one of the leaks. Maybe, I'm not sure about that. We will talk about the Rashford story in a minute. Somebody says, can Rashford take a chill pill? He's forcing it now. Okay, let's talk about this Rashford one really, really quickly then, because obviously I want to give you guys my opinion and I want you guys to give me your opinions as always. Now, for me, I think this Rashford story is absolutely ridiculous. For anybody who is unaware, Marcus Rashford was seen in a nightclub on the Sunday evening after the 3-0 loss to Manchester City. Now, this has been plastered all over the tabloid newspapers. The Sun saying that he's out clubbing and all the rest of it. It was Marcus Rashford's brother's birthday on the Sunday, okay? Let's be honest. Can you change your birthday? No. Did it fall on a day when we lost 3-0? Yes. Was this party arranged after Manchester United lose 3-0? No. This party was planned months in advance. It would have been, signed off by Manchester United, by Erik ten Hag. And the key bit of information here that I want you guys to understand is that Marcus Rashford arrived on time to training on the Monday morning, able to train. That's the most important thing here, okay? If he'd have turned up 2 hours late and was absolutely wasted, throwing up everywhere, I would be completely different to this situation, right? It's your family member's birthday and your family members decided to have his party in a club. That doesn't mean that he's there getting absolutely wasted, does it? Some people go out and don't drink. That's a pretty normal thing. Some people who aren't professional athletes go out and don't drink. Not everybody drinks. Not everybody gets so wasted that they write the whole week off. And I think that this is absolutely ridiculous personally. And I just think that there's such an agenda against Marcus Rashford at the moment. Yes, he's been terrible for us this season. Yes, there's question marks whether he should be dropped. I would probably say yes. But to come after him in the tabloid press just because he went to his brother's birthday party, I think it's very, very lazy. I really, really do. Obviously, it would be a very, very different story. If he'd have turned up late for training, as I said, turned up throwing up everywhere, I would say drop him, put him on the bench. That's an absolute disgrace. But he didn't. He was there on time on Monday morning, and there's been no, noise coming out of Old Trafford or Carrington saying that, he was unable to train or anything. He was able to train. He had a night out. And you know what? Maybe that's actually good. Maybe that is good in some ways. These people are humans. And maybe him going out with his family in that evening might have been able to then put him in more of a clear headspace going into training on the Monday, okay? He's in a terrible run of form. And I think that when people are this low, when people are at rock bottom, which I think Rashford is at the moment, you need to be around your family. We don't want him just, cooped up in his room playing Xbox till 4 a.m. like Jadon Sancho is and then not turning up to training like Jadon Sancho is, So I have absolutely zero issues with Rashford after the game. He's worked, he's done his work. Yes, we lost the game. Yes, it's disappointing, but is anybody really surprised? Going out and spending time with his family, whether it's in a club or not, I don't really care, to be honest. So these people are professional athletes. I have no doubt that Marcus Rashford conducts himself in the right way. We've had zero stories coming out saying that he's been a bad influence in the training sessions or not turning up or anything like that. He's always on time. The one time he wasn't on time, remember, last season was before the Wolves game. I think he was 2 minutes late to a team meeting and Erik ten Hag dropped him. So I have absolutely zero question marks about Marcus Rashford's desire to play for Manchester United. Yes, he looks a little bit off on the pitch. Yes, he doesn't track back, but that's more to do with his performance. That's not because he was out in a club on a Sunday night, okay? So that's my take on it. Obviously, get your thoughts in on this as well. Let me know what you guys think. Irvin says, even Sir Alex Ferguson was not against when a player was celebrating birthdays, showing up on events, as long as the player performed on the pitch for the club and for the fans. Fair enough. What else we got? Somebody says, I don't care if he goes up partying. He should score more goals for me. I agree with that. I agree. Jihan says, this is good news about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Stop giving average players huge contracts. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has improved, but he's not what we really need. He's a good sub. I would probably agree with that, to be honest. I would probably agree with that. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is good. I don't think he's world class. I think he's world class one-on-one defensively, but I don't think he's world class in any other area. He's got one really, really good trait to his game, and I think the rest of his game is a little bit poor, to be honest. Lumen says, Kieran, he should have the audacity not to attend the party given the circumstances. He should be aware of how it would have been treated after an embarrassing defeat. The thing is, right, the thing that's most important for me is that Manchester United, Marcus Rashford and Erik ten Hag had this agreement in place, okay? If it was like Marcus Rashford stormed off the team bus and went out to the club and got wasted and didn't turn up, that's a different story. But someone's birthday, I'm sure he would have communicated with the club and said, it's my brother's birthday on this Sunday. Do you have an issue with me going to this, going to this event after the game? And they would have said yes, and it would be fine. That would be my understanding of it. Obviously, if something comes out differently in the next couple of days saying that Erik ten Hag told him not to go or something, then we can have that conversation. But at this point, I'm not going to call someone out for having a life. I think that's a little bit too far. These people are humans. Yes, they're paid lots of money to play football, but it's not like he's gone on a booze cruise with the boys. It's like he's gone to his brother's birthday party. It's been picked up by the mainstream, not even the mainstream. It's been picked up by the tabloid newspapers, The Sun, the Daily Mail, and they've blown it into this massive situation that it really, really doesn't need to be. And it's just typical Manchester United. We're the biggest club in the world. We've got the biggest fan base. And any tiny little story that they think they can grasp onto, they'll blow out of proportion. And that's what's happened here. So I'm not going to buy into it. But obviously, if you guys are upset about it, then that's obviously completely up to you. Let's talk a little bit about the takeover then, because there has been a couple of big stories coming out today
regarding when the announcement will be made. So 2 or 3 different outlets in the UK today are reporting that the announcement of Sir Jim Ratcliffe could be as soon as next week. It also goes on to say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's faith in Erik ten Hag remains unchanged despite Manchester United's poor start to the season, but it is thought that Erik ten Hag will have fewer responsibilities if Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes over the club. So just to be very, very clear, let's break those things down. Most of the media in the UK today is saying that this announcement for Sir Jim Ratcliffe for 25% is imminent. The takeover is imminent. It's not a full takeover, as we know. It's 25%, 1.25 billion going into the Glazers' pockets. Yes, we're being told that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will take over the sporting control, but then we're also being told that the Glazers aren't happy about that. So we'll have to wait and see what the finite details actually end up being. But the headline is, as we all know, Sheikh Jassim, Qatar are out of the race. We know that. They're done. Then I would be absolutely shocked if they re-enter the race now, personally. I think anybody who wanted Qatar, I think we can kind of forget about that now. We've got to focus on what we have now. We've got to try and make the best of a bad situation. Obviously, I'm very concerned about it. Obviously, it's not what I wanted, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Lumen says, Kieran, I am a fan of Manchester United since 1992. I could not eat properly or sleep peacefully on Sunday night. Only time will correct things. I will show patience for my club till eternity. I hear you, mate. I do, but that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I've said this to you guys many, many times before, right? Many times before. We love Manchester United more than a lot of these players do. Maybe not Rashford. Obviously, he's, come through the youth academy. But a lot of these people who've come here just for the money. Casemiro, I think he's a good player. Let me just tell you this, right? Casemiro's wages at Manchester United, okay? This will answer that question for you. Casemiro, £300,000 per week at Manchester United. At Real Madrid, he was on 180,000. My point here is Manchester United have almost doubled his salary. People can say he came for a new opportunity and to try a different league. Are you genuinely telling me, right, that Casemiro was happy to leave a team that was most likely going to compete for the Champions League, compete for the La Liga, compete for the Spanish Cup, a team with some unbelievable players, to come to a team who are literally in the mud? And you're telling me that they don't do that for the money? You're telling me that if we'd have offered him 100 grand a week, he would have said no. He would have taken it. He wouldn't. A lot of these players come for the money. They do. They come for the big payday. Anthony was on £20,000 a week at Ajax. He's getting paid £200,000 a week at Manchester United. Players know that they can come to Manchester United and they can put in hardly any effort. They think they've made it. They think they're in the big time. Obviously, Casemiro is a massive player, so I'm not questioning his pedigree. But people like Anthony, these types of players who come in, who really are still at the very early stages of their career, to be honest. I don't think Anthony is the finished product at all. He's 22, 23. He had a couple of good seasons in let's be honest, a bang average Dutch league, and Manchester United reward him with a salary 10 times what he was getting over there. I mean, it's absolutely sickening. And you wonder why there's all these fans in the chat saying, "Oh, I was so devastated that evening. I didn't eat, I didn't drink after we lost the game." I'm telling you, Anthony and all of the rest of them will go home. Yes, they'll be a bit annoyed. They'll be annoyed because they lost the game from a personal level, from a they want to win football matches type level. They don't care about Manchester United. Come on, be real here. Do you really think any of those players care about Manchester United? If you look at how they perform on the pitch, you can tell that they don't. But let me know what you guys think about that. Maybe it doesn't seem to me like they care anyway. It doesn't. I mean, even Rashford, we're being told, we're not being told. He has been here since he was a little boy, but he seems to not put in any effort anymore, does he? Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Naya says, I'm blessed to have started following you. Big ups. Big ups to you, my friend. Thank you very much for being part of this community. Fred says, what are we seeing in the chat? People are talking about their score predictions for the game against Newcastle. I am going to talk about that in a minute, but do get your score predictions for the game, Newcastle United, tomorrow evening, 8:15 p.m. kickoff, Carabao Cup. We have to win that game. We have to go and beat Newcastle. I know I said that about Man City, but, the next games after that are going to be difficult. We've got Fulham away from home. Again, it's a must-win game. Then we go and play Copenhagen away from home, again in the Champions League. Massive, massive fixture. Then we've got Luton Town at home, which obviously if we lost that, it would be an absolute disaster. And then we've got Everton away. After that, though, we have quite a few away games, don't we? We've got Galatasaray, etc., etc. There is one period coming up where we've got 3 home games in a row, so that's something to consider. But After this little run here, we've got Everton away, Galatasaray away, and Newcastle United away. I mean, all three of those matches are going to be very, very difficult. Newcastle, I would imagine, will lose. Galatasaray, I would probably say, will lose. Everton, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose to Everton, to be honest, away from home. So we've really, really got to win these next 3 or 4 games, because otherwise, if we lose to Newcastle tomorrow, lose to Fulham on Saturday, lose to Copenhagen, I don't know what's going to happen then. I would be absolutely shocked if Erik ten Hag's job isn't in jeopardy then, because at that point we're out of the Champions League, we'll be out of the League Cup, and we'll be way down the table. We'll be in the bottom half of the table. So it's hard to stay positive at the moment. It is. I have just come to this realization in the last kind of 2 to 3 months that this is just what Manchester United is now. We are just an average team. We are just a mid-table team, whether we like that or not. That's the reality. And I think that almost once you accept that, the bad results just kind of just become a normal. These players have shown me nothing to make me think that we're anything better than an average team. Like, I've seen nothing from them in the last 10 games of the season, or in the first 10 games of the Premier League season. I'll be honest, I haven't seen one single good performance in the Premier League, really. You could argue that when we played Sheffield United and we got it back, maybe, but we only won the game in the last, couple of seconds of that match, didn't we? Same with Brentford. I mean, we could easily be in a much worse situation than where we are now. Wolves, we should have lost. And I think you just guys have to be realistic at this point. I know we can hope that, Sergeant Ratcliffe comes in and saves the day, but I just don't buy it personally. And I think once something clicks in your head, we've won 1 trophy in the last 6 years. Why do we expect to be winning Champions Leagues and winning Premier Leagues? That we've seen nothing from these players really since Sir Alex Ferguson has left to show us that we're anywhere near Man City, that we're anywhere near even Liverpool or Arsenal or Tottenham at the moment, under any manager. And this isn't a dig at Ten Hag, because under every single one of these managers, it's been the same. It's mid-table, bang average football, counter-attacking at best, hitting on the break, and that's all we ever do. Rajat says we should blame the board about spending 85 million on Anthony and giving him 200 grand a week. I agree. And Mumra says Hannibal, Mainu, Garnacho need more game time. They'll show more passion than Bruno, McTominay, Rashford. I agree with you. And you know what? In this game tomorrow against Newcastle, I'm starting Garnacho, I'm starting Hannibal, I'm starting Martial, and I'm starting Pellistri. Those would be my front 4 players, 100%, and Mason Mount as well. No doubt about it. Hopefully Casemiro's back. The defence should be the same as on the weekend because there isn't any other options. But further up the pitch, I'm having Mason Mount, Casemiro, Pellistri, Garnacho, Hannibal and Martial. Those would be my players, and I would do that. Why not? Joe says, Kieran, which of our current United players can easily slot into the first 11 for Arsenal or City? City, I would say 0. I honestly don't think a single one of our players who started the game against Man City on Saturday would get in the Man City team. Not one of them. Arsenal, I mean, I honestly don't think any of the players that started on Saturday would get in Arsenal's team either. Genuinely, I don't. Dalot wouldn't, Maguire wouldn't, Evans wouldn't, Lindelof wouldn't, Rashford wouldn't, Amrabat wouldn't, Eriksen wouldn't, Bruno Fernandes wouldn't, McTominay wouldn't, and Højlund wouldn't. Not at the moment anyway. Maybe if, you looked over the last 2 or 3 years at stats, you could argue that Rashford has more goals than Martinelli or whatever. Like on paper, maybe, but based on at this very current moment in time, if I was Pep Guardiola, if I was Mikel Arteta, I would not swap a single player from the Manchester United starting 11 with a single player from Arsenal or Man City, and that just says something for me. I think all of those players have got their heads screwed on. They're hungry. They're all humble. They want to succeed, whereas none of these players want to do that, and I think all of them think they're better than they are. But that's just my opinion. Let me know if you disagree. Richie says Ten Hag's record, played 76, won 48, still on track to be the quickest manager to win 50 games, even though this season has been diabolical. Yeah, I mean, that is worth noting. It is. Like, the thing is, right, that's great. Winning 50 games, brilliant. Well done to him. That's really, really good. But the football's terrible, let's be honest. It was terrible last season. I think I was okay with it because we won a trophy and we got top 4. And football is a results business at the end of the day. But yeah, the football's been terrible and it's not got any better. Lumen says, Kieran, I don't know why, but I find Ten Hag's lineup a typical Sergeant Ratcliffe lineup. Hope you get my point. Yeah, I know what you're saying there, mate. David says, we are a team with a lot of injuries. How do you think Pep, Klopp or any other manager would cope if they were missing their back 4? Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, it is, but
I still think when you look further up the pitch, there's no excuses. What? So you're telling me because Martinez is injured, that's why Rashford's not scored? I get your argument, and I do agree with you somewhat, but is it the defence's fault that Rashford hasn't scored any goals? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe he's missing Luke Shaw. You know, he was doing unbelievable last season when Luke Shaw was at left back. We know how Luke Shaw bombs up the pitch and, you know, gets into attacking positions. When you've got a centre-back playing at left-back, Victor Lindelof's at left-back, of course it's going to be issues because he doesn't know how to attack. He's a centre-back. So you probably are right, to be fair. But let's wait and see what happens. Simon says, Ten Hag must not be sacked. We need to break the cycle. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I definitely don't want Ten Hag to be sacked. 100%. I don't think he should. So let's move over to that story really, really quickly. So as we said, Sir Jim Ratcliffe apparently has 100% faith in Erik Ten Hag. His job is not at stake. Obviously, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Do you think Erik Ten Hag should be the Manchester United manager? If you don't, please let me know who your preferred option would be. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. I'm going to read out a couple more of your comments before I wrap up the show. Joe says, I was hoping that Bayindir would get some game time. Somebody says Ten Hag in. Richie says, don't forget we had our best back four when we lost 7-0 to Liverpool. There you go. Exactly. I agree with you there. I do. Somebody says we just got to use what we have. It takes simple, basic effort. Somebody, CR7 wants Erik Ten Hag out. Lumen says, Kieran, is Bruno a worse captain than Maguire was? My heart now says Luke Shaw would be a better captain than both of them. I don't know. I think this captain debate is really, really difficult. I do. I think if you're going off pedigree, if you're going off trophies, it needs to be Casemiro or Varane. I understand why Bruno Fernandes is the captain, though, because he is always fit, he's always available, and he plays 100% of the games. And you do need a captain who's on the pitch all the time. You know, Maguire never should have been a captain. And then as soon as he starts getting dropped, it's like, why have you got a captain who's not even being picked? And I think in some ways, the fact that Bruno's the captain is actually a bit of an issue now because there's no way he's going to get dropped as the captain. And I think if he wasn't the captain, maybe we would see a bit more rotation in that area. It would create a bit more of a competition for places. Whereas every other person in that position is going to look at Bruno Fernandes and think, there is absolutely zero chance about me getting picked unless Bruno gets injured. But let me know what you guys think about that. I don't think the captain's going to be changed. I agree with Michelle, who says Bruno is a petulant child. I agree with that. I think his petulantness, I don't know if that's a word, it's getting boring, it's getting tiring, and I am sick of it. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. David says you'll see the difference when he does get the back four back. Every good team is built from the back. The thing is, right, David, when is that back four going to come back? Martinez is out for 3 months. He's not going to be back until the new year. What happens at that point? Is Varane going to be fit every match? Varane's injury prone now. He can barely play 1 game a week. Is Wan-Bissaka going to get injuries again? Like, is Luke Shaw going to be all right? You know, there's so many question marks about this best back four. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on the show this evening. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you leave. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner, before you go. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll be back at 8:30 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Yeah, I'll speak to you guys then. Have a nice evening. I hope you guys go and do something nice and get away from the craziness of Manchester United. And I'll speak to you all tomorrow.